in the Congress was working with Congressman Bowman. Think about a young congresswoman elected in 2006 that arrives as the Democrats take control of the Congress, having an ally, someone who is so knowledgeable about how to get things accomplished and get things done. He was a very important mentor for me and a very important partner. So I didn't want that to go unsaid as we reflect upon a little bit upon the past and then the future. What I'd like you all to do is think about what is most important for this community, for their new representative in Congress, working with me as a partner, and getting it accomplished for Pinellas County and the state of Florida. I'm going to give you a little time to think about that, and here's how I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to ask you some questions. But I will be sure that I know this crowd, and I know you're going to turn it around. So, I thought I'd give a little context while you all think about your priorities for this wonderful community. Think about the context of, my 7 years in the Congress, being your voice and your advocate, have been a truly remarkable time. Times of great progress, but times of very deep economic challenges for so many of our people. I was elected in 2006, the second half of George Bush's second term in office, 5 years removed from September 11th, when what was the number one issue in the election of 2006? Was the war in Iraq. At that time, a lot of new information was coming out about what led America down the path to war in Iraq, a country that did not attack us on September 11th, and some of the intelligence failures, put it kindly. So my first committee assignment was the House Armed Services Committee. At a time when the war in Iraq was really dividing the country, but the opinions, public opinion was beginning to turn. And what really informed my time on the House Armed Services Committee was visiting the VA hospitals here. Because the James A. Kelly Hospital in Tampa is the busiest VA in the country, and it is home to one of 4 polytrauma centers. So my visits there monthly exposed me to these young heroes that had been wounded overseas, and the need for us to take care of them and live up to our responsibilities as Americans. The same thing visiting Bay Pines here, where they do wonderful work in mental health, and sitting down with some of the veterans and soldiers who had come back from the battlefields after a number of tours, and realizing that we needed to step up and make sure that just because the war is coming to an end, that our support for the brave men and women that serve this country never comes to an end. And of course, Mr. Young was important help in that. So in those early days of my service, when the war wasn't raging, it was I think back on 2 very important pieces of legislation that were passed. The Wounded Warrior Assistance Act. If you remember, there was some scandal out of the Walter Reed Hospital with the conditions there. And then the second given time to reflect before I arrived here, I think one of the most important pieces of legislation I've co-sponsored is the GI Bill for the 21st century that we passed in 2008 and provides a 4-year scholarship to every Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. Last week when I flew back home, I sat next to a young man that works at Special Operations Command at Naval Air Force Base, and we got to talk to him and said, you know, I didn't ask about the GI Bill, but he said, no, I've been in service, I've been overseas everywhere, and I came back, and I just finished my MBA at the University of Tampa. He said,